Hello again. Welcome back from the lunch. I hope you got enough energy to keep you through the session and not too much energy to fall asleep. I hope if you fall asleep to be because of the food and not because of the session. I will not take it personally. All right, let's continue in the second part. Thank you for being here again. I will start again with the same disclaimers as I said before, just to be sure. The thin letters, the fine letters. This is not a full course. This is a teaser of our course. You can enroll. But I have a second disclaimer here. This course is not about giving you answers. Sorry. I'm not here to respond to any of your questions and your challenges. I'm not here to solve your problems. Perhaps you might leave with more questions that you came here, but I believe, at least my role is this, to leave you with the right questions, right? To explore the right problems, to explore the right opportunities, to know what to look for, to know in which dimensions to deep dive, right? So again, if you're looking for answers, perhaps in the break we can discuss, but not through these slides, right? I might have some more disclaimers in the All right, let's go. Previously, we saw about product development fundamentals, and we saw the introduction to AI models to know what we're dealing with, and the product discovery. Okay, just a reminder about the books, very nice books, read them. If you have a profile on Goodreads, feel free to search for my profile with my name. I have some lists about the books that I have also read. There are some reviews there, so feel free to reach me out even there. I know it's not the most common medium to advertise besides LinkedIn. I'm also on Goodreads. So today, in this session, we'll talk about human factors in AI, the AI PM role and skill set, the mindset of building a copilot and everything around it, which will also be connected with the course that John introduced before, how to build Gen AI up with RAG and knowledge, augmented generation. And finally, we will give a glimpse of what it means to build and to have AI metrics and define your product strategy. This is the last section is the why we're building this. Everything else is about going around, what we're doing. The how is to the engineers, of course, we need to know. But the final item is the why, right? Let's start with the human factors. Also, just a parenthesis, we might have some time as well in the end for some questions, so if you have any questions, feel free to write them. And actually, I saw that it worked with the questions, so if you have any other questions in the meantime, feel free. I'm saying this because I'm used to having this session more of an interactive session, and it's good to have questions here. And we have time. So let's start with this human factor in AI. It's about, as a general idea, how people are addressing AI outcomes, how there's a man in the middle to control everything, and we start with some specific, let's say, pillars. And the first pillar is human-centered design. How do you design something which is for the people and with the people to know that this is the right thing to do? How you address usability and transparency. As we said in the first part, what if it's wrong? How do you explain this? And how do you handle the attention span so that you keep your user focused? Just a reminder here, we're not talking only about LLMs. We're not talking about ChatGPT. I know because sometimes when we use AI, we think a lot about ChatGPT or Gemini or any other chatbot, but this is in general an AI tool that we will use to help in our day-to-day work. We have trust explainability. How do you calibrate your model? How do you remove any biases here? Again, how do you explain and give explainability of the AI saying, hey, this is right, this might be wrong, I'm improving, just give me thumbs up or thumbs down. And here, as I said before in the previous section, how do you handle the trade-offs with performance? Is it perform well or not? We have bias, fairness, and social impact here. AI shouldn't be biased, right? There should be, as we said in the question that we had in the last session, open for oversight, for the users to know that there is someone on the back controlling, overviewing, checking what's said. This doesn't have to be real time, of course, but you should have this process. Okay, as I said before, it's not about ChatGPT. No one gonna check every message that you send. They might use other agents to test your messages. And finally, take into consideration inclusive data in diverse design teams, right? You have to collaborate a lot with your models. You have to collaborate a lot with your product. Okay. That was said before in a previous talk that, as asked by the ChatGPT, if they're going to replace all the jobs. We don't want to replace all the jobs. We want to help us. Augmented intelligence, not replacement, not replace of what we do. It's sure we should make sure that we know who does what. And I think, I don't know if you've seen that, there's a very popular Twitter post, old Twitter post, saying that I want the AI to do the dishes for me so that I can create art. I don't want AI to create art so that I do the dishes, right? So you should know who does what and when. And finally, as I said, human feedback loops. This is something that, in my examples and my use cases that I mentioned earlier, affects me a lot in my work. How users understand or misunderstand the AI systems and the results, because, and we had a discussion in the break about understanding the results, about statistical models, whether product managers should know the logic behind it, the statistical models or the technology. You have to explain. You have to give the opportunity for the user to check. And again, in this conversation, we're talking about black box. Is it a black box or not? So it is a black box for some people. You have to open up the black box to improve it, let engineers work on the black box. But as a product manager, you have to make sure that this is understandable and you can check what's going on. We have safety, accountability, and human in the loop, right? When should you override it? If I tell my agent, let's assume that we're talking about a chatbot, please create this entity there, and by mistake it calls it a wrong API and deletes the database, what happens? What are the guardrails there? How do you intervene? How do you know who is responsible? What happens? Actually, this is very interesting. What happens if the AI agent makes a mistake and actually deletes data that they shouldn't, if we give this access? Because we know there are bugs. We are developers. I saw a lot of engineers back then. If someone says that there are no bugs, you are liars. Okay? So how do you handle this? And finally, you have the legal and regulatory implications here on the safety, trust and safety. Also, trust and safety, I don't know if you have been watching LinkedIn, it's a trending topic, trust and safety, a lot right now. So yeah, you have to focus on that. Accessibility and inclusivity, very important. We don't talk a lot about this, especially I know from friends and colleagues, for example, who had a PAP. I know PAP was working a lot on inclusivity, on accessibility. Every other company does. Because if you have big traffic on your sites, even 1% of your users, it's a lot. So you have to adapt. You have cognitive and emotional interaction, right? How do you use emotions, behavior, decision making? As we said before, yes, it gives me the right results. How does it make me feel? This again applies to the context of your business, of your product. Emotional recognition and ethical boundaries is very important for you. If you're working somewhere where you're trying to convince users to spend money where they shouldn't, for example, or to do bad things, or if we have the phenomenon of stickiness to your product, and then where do you draw a line? Where it's sticky enough, but it's addictive, right? We have long-term human implications. Impact on jobs, on skills, decision-making, autonomy. Should we create this AI that will take over? Skynet, Terminator, whatever. How do you reshape the human behavior? Okay, this is the final part in the human factor, which is very important to see the long terms. I know that there are some companies that have specific departments about ethics, specific departments that see into the future, or try to see into the future. So this is the last part, the last, let's say, checkbox that you need to check to do your work, yes, well. So all of that is about human factor in AI. We don't have to cover everything. It's like when you send a resume, you don't have to check everything, but at least you should know that those are the items. For example, in some products, because I have to make an MVP, perhaps for the disabilities, I don't know, just a random pick, I might disregard it in the beginning. It depends on your impact, it depends on your customer base, on your segments, it depends. Of course, my role here is to say that you need to check everything. Okay, let's go with the AI PM role and the skill set. And I will bring again this one. Where do we stand? Just a reminder, it's not a question, this is a reminder. To remember, where do we stand? So we stand close to the business, with more knowledge, vertical knowledge, to the technologies. The thing is, and the question is, what makes, or what should make an AI PM unique, right? We have uncertainty in output. As we said before, there's no deterministic way of knowing the result, okay? And again, as we said about statistical models, about the models in general. Okay, so you have to handle ambiguity, you have to handle probabilistic, you have to handle hallucinations, false positive results. You have to be more data-centric to build data-centric products. Okay, so basically this is why in my, whenever I try to think of an AI product manager, I always add the word data. Does it make sense to be an AI product manager without actually knowing the data? So you have to know the data that you work on, the availability, the quality, if it's okay to use, as we said before, if it's legal to use, and the model versus product thinking. Here, how do you balance the model performance with the product impact? Okay, perhaps your model is underperforming. Is it okay or not? This is something that we will see in the key metrics, because you might have some balances to say, okay, this is good enough, but the value that I get is better than expected. And then if I invest in the model to be, okay, faster, it depends, to be more accurate, I might not get the results that I need right now. So it's good enough. What are the core responsibilities of an AI PM? Define the problem space, as we said before, but specifically. We mentioned the PRD, we mentioned the discovery area, so this is the same, there's no change. We have the collaboration with data scientists, engineers, legal department, researchers, to make all the experimentations. Okay, you have to become friends with those people. Actually, product managers should be friends with everyone. It's someone that, you know that, right? Product managers, someone who does a lot, who can do a lot without authority. There's no hands-on, so you have to rely on other problems. This is why all the product managers try to learn coding, try to learn BI, trying to learn anything else so that they can make things on themselves. Anyway, so collaboration, very good, persuasive. Translate model constraints and capabilities, right? And user-facing features. I would say the capabilities, not the constraints, mostly here. Okay, and finally, ethical, actually finally, it's one more bullet, ethical and responsible AI practices. Okay, I will close this section with end-to-end lifecycle to own the end-to-end lifecycle. As we said before, this is a full define, explore, discover, and deliver cycle with a double diamond framework that we saw earlier. And this is, for me, as someone who might be hiring AI product managers or product managers, this is my expectation to own end-to-end. It doesn't mean that it would deliver everything, but you have to own it. You want to model it in the RASI pattern, you want to model it in any other pattern, you have to own it. So you own how you get the data, the experimentation, and then if the result is the one that you should have, if it affects the users in a positive way, you have success. Essential skills for AI PMs. I mentioned earlier that if you have questions, you can raise your hand. The light blocks my eyes a little bit, so you can just wave as well. I'm just saying, okay. Technical fluency. Every product manager, and okay, this might be biased because I'm an engineer in the background, but they should be technical fluent. What's technical in AI is about, of course, AI and ML, we know that. I think we said that at least 50 times a day, not only by me, but other speakers as well. So yes, technical fluency. Speak the language to be able to communicate. Product managers should be multilingual in business, design, AI, engineering, data. As I said, no hands-on, but to speak a lot of languages. Communication bridge. And finally, know enough to challenge assumptions, right? You have to be data literate. You have to know how to access data. You have to know which data you can retrieve from your users. Even if you don't have the data, you have to know which data you can get from your product or what data the users can give you, right? As I work in a company that we receive feedback from users, we have to check what data the users are willing to give us, because we have customer experience surveys, so we know that users are responding to surveys, and these are the data they're willing to give. Are there other data sources that we can get around about this user that we can include in our own analysis? As I said before, what's good enough for the data, for the outcome, for the performance, everything, and understand feedback loops. Okay, especially for that, because I work in a feedback management company, understand feedback loops, and keep learning and keep improving. Ethics and governance awareness. You have to recognize ethical risks. As I said before, what's wrong, what's right? Is the user gonna lose his job? Because he will do less things, less items, less work effort on them, okay? Process for AI audits, this is very important. Audit logs, user trust. How do we know that the model processes the right data? How do we know that it doesn't store data for some reason and doesn't use anything else. We talked about code governance and data governance earlier. Very relevant to that. You have to think with AI constraints. This is very important for prioritization of the features. Okay, we know prioritization, right? So with priorities, we have to have, as we said before, feasibility. So feasibility is effort. Feasibility is time, complexity, risk, everything about prioritization. Now, if we have AI, this changes with the constraints we have. How do you take priorities there? So here, you have to define a lot of experiments. I'm sorry about the microphone. And define properly your MVPs, version 1 versus version 2, and our MVP. In our model, when we build a model to test our assumptions, that was not even shippable. Do you know the definition of an MVP? Actually, not the definition. They're saying, I don't know if you heard about that, if the MVP looks good, it's too late. You shipped too late. So just ship it. Make the experiments. Of course, in the AI, because you have all this bubble of data, trust, and stuff like that, just be explicit and say, hey, this is an MVP, this is just a test, we get all this data, right? And this is what you have to communicate to the business. This is what you have to communicate to the commercial team. Do not allow them to make promises to the user, which you have to build faster now, right? So be careful with that. And I'm looking at my commercial team here. And design user flows with thresholds, fallbacks, and human in the loop. We said that a lot of times. Cross-functional collaboration. Okay. As I said, I don't have answers, right? I have challenges here. So think. I have a bridge between engineering and research. Speak a lot of languages. Coordinate experimentation cycles. Now we don't have sprints, we have cycles. Okay. In a world where you have models ready to be shipped, ready to be used because they have specific knowledge, because they are pre-trained models, yes, I agree. As we said this morning, you might have experimentation just one day, in 2 days. But if you're building something new, what happens then? How do you handle this as a product manager? Okay. How do you handle all this uncertainty? How do you handle all the releases? Challenges, metrics, and growths. So there are some unique challenges AI PMs face. We have to say it here because we have also the imposter syndrome. Okay, sometimes we do things, we're not good enough, something is failing, why this fails, I'm not good at my job, and then again, I sleep like a baby, right? Wake up every 2 hours and cry. So, non-determinism. Even the best models can fail unpredictably. It's not your fault, it happens. This would not happen with coding, but it happens here. Ambiguity on evaluation. Just because your model is accurate doesn't mean that the user wants your model or wants your output. Okay, and you know, as a product manager, the questions that we always ask with the product is, do I get the right value? But with AI, the second question that I get is, do I save time with this? If time is here important, it depends. Okay, because we said in the beginning that AI is about user experience, it's about automating repetitive tasks. It's one of those. Ethical debt. Again, I think we mentioned ethics a lot today, so it should be important. Okay, wink. And model degradation, data drifts. Okay, data shifts, concept drift, how things evolve and change, and how do you consider the new reality? How do you consider how the industry changes? All the models, all the definitions change. The user input changes. Okay, these are challenges that you have to take into consideration because you don't live in present. You live in present, but you have to plan for the future. Okay, you have to build products that will actually evolve, right? We don't build roads, we don't build cars. It's not like that we build one car and then, okay, next line, build the same car from the beginning. We have to evolve. And especially when I talk with engineers, I always have this trade-off. Okay, we will build this for you now, fast, with like a lot of technical debt. Will we be able to pay it in the next cycle? They buy me a beer, I buy them a beer, it's all good. We actually built it. And we actually paid technical debt, so it depends. Let's move this on metrics and success for AI PMs. How do you define success? Okay, how do you define success as an individual and where this success is coming from your work? Because when I actually, we have performance reviews, right? Every 3 months, every 6 months. How do you evaluate this person, right? Or this person's outcomes? So we need to see their work and see, okay, the model, is the case accurate enough? Do we increase accuracy with different methodologies, latency, speed, performance? Of course, we have the product aspect, which is usability. We have the product metrics, retention, engagement, trust, NPS. Just because my user talks all the time with my agent, if again we assume that there is a chatbot, doesn't mean this is good. Perhaps I'm asking the same question again and again, and I get the wrong answer. This is not engagement. You have to be critical in this. I know that you know, but I know that you know. Okay? But yeah, you should measure that. Trust issues. And finally, we have to see the learning and growth path of an AI PM. Someone might argue, might say that, hey, this is too soon. We start to become AI product managers. Where this is going? Don't be so rush. Is someone here? Okay, let's take something from the beginning. You are here because you're in a seminar, you're in a conference, and you want to learn, right? You want to know more. You want a career growth path. So I guess you want to know where this is heading, not to a wall, right? So you have to know how these evolve, right? And for you to evolve, to know your surroundings. We will help, by the way. Okay, do we have any questions before I move on the next? Yes, speak up, please. I will repeat the question, but yes.
Okay, you're using AI only on the PM, or you're using in the entire project life cycle? So you're using it with business analysts, testers, developers, and designers, or only in the PM?
If I'm using AI as a tool for me to do the work, you mean?
No, in your company, you're using just for PM, or the other employees as well use to build, to design, to build requirements
If,
for everything.
okay, yes, this is similar to the question we had earlier. Yes, we need the entire team to be AI relevant, okay, to know to AI, to know the constraints that we said before. So that, no, this is what you're asking, right?
Yeah, I am asking if you are already doing it, or you want to do it.
No, we're already doing it. Yes. In my company, we're already doing it, yes. We have a lot of data, and we build different models for different purposes. As I said before, we are a customer feedback company. So we do a lot of analysis on the data, and we use AI models for different purposes. We have sentiment analysis. We have topic detection, right? We have proactive insights if something goes wrong. We have, as we said before, from a pub, if I remember from some things to detect if a customer will churn or not. Okay, so we have all these AI models that will help us in this one. Some are more mature, some are less mature. But everyone is aware that we're building for this. Do we have any other question? It's the sun in my eyes. Okay. Sorry. Mindset in building Copilot. This is the section here. Right. And now we have hands again. Do you use a Copilot at home? Let me see any hands. Nice. Okay. Do you consider ChatGPT a Copilot for you? Yes. Perfect. It depends. Do you use a Copilot at work? This is the second question. This is better. That's nice. And your engineers? No. Okay. Yes. Some of you. Right. Okay. Interesting question now. Have you built a Copilot? Nice. Perfect. Okay. That would be a good discussion here. All right. Copilot, also known as assistant, also known as bot, partner, concierge, agent. We have a lot of terminology depending on the place that the Copilot exists, or lives, or interacts with the people. We have a lot of different aliases. Core definition, what's a Copilot? Embedded in a user workflow to help me do a million things, let's say, but not a million things, it depends. As a product manager, I have to scope it down. Assists or augments decision making. Suggests or auto-generates content actions. Okay. Operates in human-in-the-loop context and improves the usage and the feedback. Okay. But it's very important to recognize here how much autonomy should the Copilot have. Okay. So we have advisor. I'm only suggesting, I'm not doing anything else. You did this good, bad, okay, you're gonna be a bad person, a good person. I think. We have the augmenter that gets every information and then suggests and prefills, and up to that. We have the semi-autonomous, okay, who can take actions with some approval or with approval. And finally, this is the closest to autonomous agent that freely can take actions for you, right? Don't call the Copilot if it's only autocomplete. Sorry, no offense. The slides tell. So, for those that actually build a Copilot, is it an advisor? Is it an autonomous agent? I will check from there. Okay, something else. Is it like a semi-autonomous? Yes, nice. I know that Copilots are very popular right now with semi-autonomous because there are a lot of engines like Zapier who have that they offer models, and they're saying, okay, you can load two types of information to the Copilot or to the agent. One type of information is the knowledge base, so that they know where to get the data to respond to you with context. So you can have Zapier, for example, it has, if I remember correctly, it has tables, so you can upload tables with data and make calculations. And the second part is actions. You can connect APIs. So we're talking about agents out of the box, not agents that you build, right? This is different. So you have actions. Of course, they also have guardrails to help you protect, but yeah, these will help you with semi-autonomous actions. And this is to help you as well to know what's out there. Okay. Building your own Copilot. Not for engineers, but for product managers. How do you plan for a Copilot? What's the definition? Predictive, assistive, or autonomous? What do you want to build? Or what's your MVP? And what's your long term? Sometimes you cannot go from one to the other. You have to start from the beginning depending on your context. But this is for you to decide. We can discuss in the break. What pain point is it solving? Because, to be honest, a chatbot, okay, it might give me information, but if I every day do repetitive tasks, then I want someone to think before me, for me, and like we said, to actually search daily for the competition. That was a very good example in the morning for that. And if it's to see the scope creep, start with narrow, well-defined workflows. Okay. How do you inform user interaction in the loop? Design for collaboration. Again, not replacement. Okay, as a partner, not a black box decision maker. And natural language. Okay, this is a bit more straightforward. I understand. I will speed up a little bit because seeing the time. Data sources and grounding. Define the knowledge base, as we said before. Use RAG or knowledge augmented generation. I would highly recommend to watch John Haley's course for this. Okay, it might be a little bit technical, but I prefer for PMs to watch some seminars around this technology because they know what they're building. It's not a must, but I highly recommend it. With this. Okay, so sorry. And evaluation metrics use user value first. Okay, not just model accuracy. Successes, time saved, override or rejection rates based on if you have thumbs up or thumbs down. Okay, touch satisfaction and monitor the hallucinations and edge cases. Of course, the hallucinations come from user feedback, so you should allow definitely user feedback. Okay. Okay. Let users see why a decision was made. So this is about transparency. Link to sources if possible, if this is an agent that you want to build this way, and allow the users to tweak inputs. Okay. And as I said before, not said before, just as you annotate here, adjust for conversational co-pilots. Trust and governance, guardrails, which mentioned that before. Be very, very, very careful which data do you expose on your chatbot. Every data engineer will tell you about this. I know because as a PM, we can test things ourselves. Be extremely careful. Okay. Define when you fall back to a human and be transparent about limitations. Okay. I may not be accurate in legal advice. We have system architecture, we have to know the core components, and we have continuous learning and feedback loops. We mentioned that. Finally, we have domain and context adaptation, so you know that you're using a copilot that has context. What is my role? What is my goal? I don't have to say that again and again and again for you to understand, to give me the right metrics, the right insights. For example, in my company, if we have a CEO getting the data, they want an overview of some of the data. If I have a specific branch manager, they want all their own access, their own data. So you have to slice down the data. And privacy, security, and compliance, again, where your data go, how they are stored, and how do you log for analytics. If in my product are doing topic detection, the users want to know if this came from a human or from a model, right? And we need to know. This is good for us to know, to correct. All right, I will close for the last 5 minutes with AI metrics and strategy. So we need to align product goals with metrics. Don't just optimize for the sake of optimization. Optimize so that you can bring results, you can move the needle, so that you give value to your business, you give value to your users. Okay, you define what's value for you. All I'm saying is you have to define value. Don't dive deep into the models without defining your value. So you have model metrics, you have product impact metrics. Okay. You have different categories. You have model performance, which measure how well the model performs. You have user behavior. If the user comes back and uses all this output and takes advantage of that and actually gets value of your product, you have system metrics. If it's performing at scale, if I get like 1 million requests every day and after that my model like gives up, that's an issue. I don't know if everyone bought that, that's good, but yes. Safety and trust is a metric. If you access all these ethical issues, and finally data quality. If I have the right data, the right dimensions, okay, and move on. We are a product management course. Define a North Star, okay? It shouldn't be the number of messages. We're not WhatsApp, right? Define the indirect result that you get, perhaps from your AI-powered tool. Okay. And that will move you forward because you know that you have the North Star. You know that everyone in the team has the same North Star. Business has the same North Star. Design has the same North Star. Engineering, data, you all have the same North Star. I've seen companies that do not have the same North Star or even a North Star at all. And everyone was going in different directions. Okay. And here, balance quantitative and qualitative feedback on what you do good or best. Strategy, establish guardrail metrics. Okay. Toxicity, wrong answers, privacy violations, unfair biases. What happens if not? Or what happens if? Okay. Feedback loops, add them into the game. This is for both UX and accuracy and training and correction and human in the loop and human intervention. And I know how feedback loop works, very, very important. And data health and drift. Input, okay, something changes and we cannot prevent it. Reality, data, definitions change. Okay, let's cope with that. Evaluate offline versus online performance. Personally, my role includes both technology, engineering and data, and product. I always have this question, how we perform in the systems. Should we need to put more money on that or not? Do we have a budget or not? So all these performance issues affect me a lot. So perhaps the product manager is not affected, but they know that the company is affected. Perhaps engineers are not, but the company, it is. So you have to run these experiments. So usually when we actually have either a new model, a new data flow, or something, have an experiment. How much did it cost? Granular variation by segment or context. This is product release 101. Release it to a specific segment, release specific users, the ones that you can get feedback from, easier. Okay. And you might get specific user roles, regions, query types. Okay, for example, I might want to release my agent in the retail world only on my heavy users that have more than 2 users on the account, or more 5 users in the account that are using the product in a specific way. So I know that they will use it and I will get honest feedback and actual helpful feedback. Strategy on iterative experimentation. Baseline, what's my baseline, how many iterations do I do, when do I release, and if I have suggestions without automation for the AI. And you have to clarify, this is my almost last slide, clarify, actually this is my last slide, sorry, the model versus system ownership between your people, your team. Is the product manager owner? Is the data engineer owner? Who is owner of the data? Who is owner of the output or the outcome? It's not about blaming. It's not a blaming game. But when I work with teams, I always say, okay, what are you accountable for? What's your goal? And cross-functional collaboration is key for everything here. This is my talk. I'll have some summary and key takeaways. So we have product discovery for AI PMs as a game changer. Okay, feasibility checks shifts the game. It's a completely new game. When I saw that the first time, it was like mind-blowing. You have to take into consideration the human factor in the AI. And as an AI PM, it's not all about technical skills. Okay, it's a new world out there. When building Copilot is thoughtful and attention to detail process for success, you should join John's course for the Gen AI app. Your AI metrics must align with your overall product goals. This is product strategy North Star 101. Definitely do it. Don't ship without guardrails. Actually, it's better not to ship at all if you don't have guardrails. If you don't test it, stress test it. It's like having a product or a web interface, and I want to ship it without penetration testing. Yes, so far we might did it, but this is different. And finally, iterate. We are here for that. We are product managers. This is agile. Thank you very much.